we are voting on, and if that doesn't pass, I'll be voting no, because I don't think we know what we're voting on.
Okay, so, yeah, so now members of council can speak on the deferral for 2 minutes and put your name in the middle of request to question. So Councillor Perks, 2 minutes on the deferral.
3 quick points, members. First point, the federal cabinet can, at its sole pleasure, consider this at any moment, and we miss our opportunity to stand up for the public interest. Second point, the one thorough piece of work done on behalf of municipalities is that submission from the City of Calgary. It's available to you. You can find it on the parliamentary website right now. I'll send you the link if you want to consider it during the debate. And it's attached to Councillor Layton's motion as well. Third point, be clear in your mind. This isn't just about whether or not municipalities have citizens who would benefit from less expensive internet. It's also about municipal access agreements. Some of the questioners of Councillor Layton were saying, where's the municipal interest? Where's the municipal interest? Well, any of you who've ever had a road torn up by Bell or Rogers know where the municipal interest is. It is federal law that we must allow these guys to tear up our streets and put their infrastructure in place. That's right, the federal government puts a requirement on us that this service, internet service, be made available on our streets. They demand the use of our infrastructure. It is absolutely in our interest, therefore, to make sure that that use of a public asset is done in the best interest of Torontonians. Someone has said that they find this a confusing debate. Well, that's unfortunate for them. For me, it's not confusing in the least. It's a simple matter. Do you or do you not want to take your opportunity to protect the interests of neighbourhoods and the citizens who live within them? I think it's your duty. Vote against the deferral.
Thank you. And before we continue, I'd just like to welcome Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic School. It's here. Councillor Layton on the deferral, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm speaking against my friend Councillor Grimes' motion to defer. I believe, as has been outlined quite clearly by Councillor Perks, there is urgency to this decision. The Cabinet could make the decision at any point in time. We missed the window. It's a rather short window, but we missed that window after Bell's appeal of the CRTC decision. This is fundamentally about the impact this will have both on the affordability and the competitive nature and rates of internet in the City of Toronto. That will impact many individuals and families across our city, those that are struggling to pay their bills. They're gaining internet access so that they can participate in our community, both through their schools, in the research that they do, in our community services that we provide for them, as well as efforts to find employment. It's a fundamental right that people should have access to. We should ensure that the CRTC decision is to be upheld. Any deferral will bring us further from this comment period, and in fact, we could miss our ability to submit a comment together as a municipality. The City of Calgary have put together a detailed response. I included that when we circulated the motion so that we would all have the benefit of that information. I was hopeful that the City of Toronto would take a similar decision because of just how fundamental this is. I was proud that Councillor Ainsley seconded the motion with me in order for us to move this forward. There is value in us making a decision here. Even though we have missed the official comment period, this is a political appeal to a political body. We are the country's largest city. If we want to have a similar voice, we should be doing that now. I would just say further that the letter submitted by the Mayor, that would be our standing comment on this, if we don't comment now, is in fact in favor of Bell's position, which will drive up internet costs and not in fact allow for the competition that we are looking for in order to have affordable rates and a more competitive environment.
Thank you. Okay, apparently, I think Councillor Perks has it.
I gave my copy to staff.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Perruzza, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I'm not at all confused about what's in front of us. The Canadian Radio and Telecommunications Corporation, which is an agency of the federal government, which has jurisdiction in this area, and I understand Councillor Holyday was trying to make a point earlier that we as Toronto City Council shouldn't be getting into an area of what otherwise is federal jurisdiction because we have no business there. Because Torontonians have no business. We're not part of the Federation. We're not part of the Government of Canada. We're not part of, the Canadian fabric, let's say. I disagree with that. But I don't just disagree with that from the perspective of well, we should be making comment on this. And the CRTC, as part of its decision-making, consults with Canadians, all Canadians.
Councillor Peruzzi, you have to speak on the deferral.
On
Why
what?
you don't agree with the deferral?
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you, Speaker.
Well, that's not what you're telling us.
Yes, I am. If you would let me get to the point,
You only have 30 seconds.
Can I get my 30 seconds back that you just ate up?
No.
We as a city council spend a great deal of money on internet services on behalf of Torontonians. The CRTC decision would appear to make the provision of internet services somewhat more competitive, which many of you folks yesterday used that argument to say that you bring down rates. Well, I think bringing down rates is a good thing, and I believe that we should be making a decision. There is nothing confusing that's before us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Ainsley, 2 minutes on the deferral.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to be voting against the deferral. I'm not sure what information that you can gather or garner a month from now that you don't already have. For me, the first clause, the first few words in the clause, City Council support competitive and affordable internet prices for residents and support the CRTC decision of July 2015. If you go to the Canadian Internet Registry Association, they've got a fact book. One of the facts that they will tell you right off the bat is that there are no individuals that use the internet more in the world than Canadian citizens. And I think, when I've said before, when you talk about one of the most important aspects of that internet usage is education and making sure that people have affordable and available internet usage. We're trying to do the best we can with our public libraries. There's a huge component, though, here as the largest municipality in Canada. We should be using that leverage with the CRTC to make sure that we have internet usage available to as many people as possible right across this city. So I ask you not to support the deferral and to support the four recommendations that are before us. I think they're all pretty clear and that we should be moving forward those and making a decision today. Thank you.
Councillor Wong-Tam, 2 minutes?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Considering that this is a matter that is now before Cabinet and a decision can be made any day, I think that we need to not necessarily take ourselves away from the discussion, but ask ourselves why haven't we been involved sooner? The fact that the City of Calgary has been actively participating in those submissions regarding the CRTC rulings and the hearings, which only initiates those review once every 5 years, means that we actually are falling far, far behind. The fact that it's come on the floor of Council as a member of motion with an urgency, and we almost didn't deal with it if we were not able to waive the notice, tells me that we have actually been asleep at the wheel. Of course, internet affordability is a primary interest to all residents of Toronto. I would argue all residents of Canada and beyond. But the fact that we actually are now trying to play catch-up is shameful. To even defer this matter, to say that we need more time to consider it, you might as well say to Ottawa right now, we just don't care. We don't care at all what the cost of affordability is, whether or not internet is affordable to our residents. We actually have no say whatsoever whether or not you want to come in and rip up our roads, our right-of-way, our pedestrian walkways at any given time, because that's exactly what happens now. And in the Calgary submissions, they brought up very clearly that one of their primary concerns is that they did not want companies going into their roads and their streets, ripping up their infrastructure at any time without notice, which is exactly what happens now. Recently, I tried to relocate a bell line, and it was going to cost us $750,000 to relocate a bell line so we can plant some trees on Church and Shooter. You tell me that it doesn't have municipal interest, I would argue differently. I was just passed a note by the co-chair of the Disabilities Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee. I'm just going to end off with her words. Rahima, thank you very much for being here. And this is what Rahima has to say. Rahima Mullen. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor.
I just want to finish this one thought. Extremely limited internet use at public library. Internet will also provide equality in social lives. Those living with disabilities can't afford those tools. They need to work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Coe, 2 minutes on the deferral.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Councillor Wong Tam is right. We were asleep at the wheel. We should have taken this more seriously. We should have been on this earlier, but we weren't. The window has closed. Can I speak, please? Can I speak, please?
Councillor Perusa, please stop interrupting.
So we have missed the window. Therefore, while we should opine on this, and we can, and it's our right to do so, and we do so on many matters that are of federal nature that have an impact on the city, it is not urgent. We have missed the window, and we have the time where we should then have informed staff, and instead of them doing Google searches and running around trying to show us this information on iPads, that we can have them ready to give us the information we need, ask the questions we need. We have missed the submission window. This is no longer urgent for that reason. We can wait a month, have our answers properly, our questions properly answered. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Davis on the deferral.
It is unfortunate that we don't have staff here who can answer these questions, and they should have been. This is a report that has been in the public agenda now for some time. And it is urgent. Yes, we not only missed the CRTC hearing stage, we're about to miss the opportunity to provide a submission to the political level, to the Cabinet of the Government of Canada. There is absolutely no question that the submissions that were from community-based organizations and from the City of Calgary expressed support for the CRTC decision. And there is also no question that we have something called the digital divide. There are those that have access and those who do not. And that if we continue to have the highest internet prices practically in the world, we will continue to deepen that divide. The CRTC is a third-party agency whose job it is to mediate and to come to some conclusions. An appeal to the political level to overturn the decision of the CRTC is something we can comment on. This decision happened in October. It is now February. So if we don't decide now, I suggest that we will have the likelihood of missing that window. And the information has been in our agendas that could have been read, and I do believe that we have an interest in taking a position, and I find it actually quite concerning that our mayor has taken a position and that we weren't consulted on it. And so I think we need to take a position to uphold the decision of the CRTC, which represents the public interest, not the interest of the two corporations who own 91%.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wasn't going to speak, and I won't speak over there, but I'm ready. I've read the report of Calgary. It's really very, very thorough. They kind of did our work for us. I think that the CRTC made a thorough ruling, and it was a very smart ruling. And they went through hours and hours of hearings, listening to both sides, and they came up with, and they don't usually come up with such progressive moves forward, but it must have been such a compelling case that that's what they came up with. So I'm ready to vote. If we don't, and